like, we have, it's discretionary income for most people. I mean, for some, supplements are, essential, and like people will almost see that as part of their like the income that they have to spend. It's like you're buying groceries, well, I have to buy my supplements. But
Right.
I think that for something like a multivitamin, it's pretty cheap, and at the least, if you're getting more than the recommended amount of something, you're just gonna like pee it out.
Yeah.
So that's okay. But yeah, the problem is, and I hate to like drop a name and like talk about something like with Athletic Greens, but it's a perfect example where their whole kind of marketing thing is it's nutritional insurance. So that's fine, but like, do you want to take something that's insurance if you're not like, necessarily deficient in it? So, I mean, I think it can be good, and it's not necessarily, I don't think there's harm in doing that. But like you said, I think doing a well-balanced diet, for one, they're called supplements for a reason. They're meant to supplement
It's in
the
the name.
diet. They're not meant to, I don't have to eat veggies now that I'm having my, greens shake every day. You should probably still eat vegetables for the fiber and things like that. But I think identifying, like you said, gaps in your diet or areas where you think you might want more of something. So like creatine, I think, is a good example where we get creatine from the diet. So probably 2 to 3 grams per day, maybe if you're eating, some meat and like fish like every day, but not in like huge quantities. If you're eating like a carnivore diet or something, I mean, you're probably getting like 5 to 10 grams of creatine per day. You probably don't need to supplement, but like, it's one of those things where I think providing a little bit more can probably have a benefit. It's not like a minimal essential like nutrient. So I think something like that. But that, I think creatine kind of falls in the line of a performance enhancing supplement versus like a daily, like a multivitamin or something like that. But so I think in general, I mean, aside from like a daily multivitamin, I think with most other things, people should think about whether they need it or not, and whether it can, you could put something in your diet to replace that versus buying a supplement, because diet's probably going to be a bit more bioavailable. It's going to be a bit more cheaper, and most people would probably rather eat food than like take a supplement. So I think just, identifying, can I get this from food? If I can't, maybe I should consider supplementing it. But then also think about like whether you're deficient in it, and if increasing your intake of something is actually going to like provide a benefit, or does a deficiency in that nutrient provide kind of like a detriment. So I think it's important to think about versus just, I think people have like this almost like fear of missing out kind of around supplements. I mean, myself included. I mean, you see all these like supplements going around, and like all these podcasts talking about, oh, this new supplement does this. And I'm like, oh, I want to try all these to see if, it benefits my health and benefits my performance. But I think that can lead to some urgency to like go out and do it without kind of doing like an analysis of how does this fit into, my life, and do I actually even need this?
Yeah. Do you think it's fair to say, like, if someone is looking to potentially, let's say someone has the discretionary income to spend on some supplements, and they're like, well, I want to be smart about it though, I'm not just going to go and buy every supplement that pops up. Is it fair to say if you get like a pretty comprehensive blood test that's going to highlight maybe the spots you'd want to focus on more? Or?
I would think so, but I mean, with blood tests, it's like, it's interesting because you're getting a snapshot of just like one time during the day, and like, was it after you exercised, or what did you do the day before? So I think that they can definitely be informative, and I think that most people should probably get regular blood tests to identify like a deficiency. But I mean, I think that's probably the best way for somebody to do it, based just off of feeling, or somebody saying that most people are vitamin D deficient, so you probably are too. Like, go get a test to see if that's actually true.
Yeah, there's probably some things where, like, just by the averages, you're more likely to, or higher risk of being deficient at. And then if the blood test confirms that, then you can maybe trust it a little more.
Yeah.
So, like, vitamin D might be one of them.
Yeah, and I think, too, most people will say regarding supplements that, like, well, you don't need this because you can get it in plenty amounts in the diet. I think there's some indication that like people will talk about like the soils are depleted in nutrients and things like that. So I definitely don't think that our food contains maybe as many nutrients, or the types of nutrients that we, presume it to contain. So I think for that reason, maybe it could be good to like safeguard yourself again. So I don't want to say that like a diet can contain everything you need, because it might not. There might be less magnesium in like the spinach you're eating or something. And so I think you go online and just say like, oh, how much iron is in spinach? Well, that might not actually be the amount of iron in the spinach you're eating. So you might need some extra. So I think that's something important to consider as well.
Yeah, it's you can throw it in Chronometer, but at the end of the day, if it's not accurate, then you might get in false hope with that too.
Yeah.
So interesting. Is there if we look at just like the difference between something being like just you need this in order to just function at a normal level versus like optimizing. I mean, that's kind of a bad word, I guess. Technically, optimizing has kind of like, you kind of have to define it. Like, so let's just say like, by taking this, it's going to move you from, say, just like you're getting your basic needs met to it's going to actually improve whatever you're focused on, whether that be like mental clarity or focus or athletic performance, which you'd probably have to define to the specific, intensity or skill set as well. Are there things that like stand out to you as like, oh, this is something that I think is probably passes the test better than most does?
Yeah, I think that there are probably certain, and I think like, I similarly like dislike the word optimize, but I use it all the time. I mean, and I
it's
think
hard
it just,
not to nowadays.
Yeah, it's hard not to, because like, what else are you going to use? And I mean, I've been trying to like think about a definition of it lately because I use it so much, and it's like it indicates that like, well, we want to move beyond just like general health. We don't just want to be healthy. Like you want to, I think it just means like, I want to perform my best in whatever task I'm doing. So you can optimize as an athlete, like train, as hard as you can to reach your peak performance. You can optimize your work output or cognitive performance or whatever. So I don't know. It's, it's a very hazy word to kind of use, but I like to use it all the time and say I'm trying to optimize. But I think that's kind of where the realm of supplements are moving to. Like we want to optimize now. We don't just want to like correct a deficiency because, we're beyond that. But yeah, regarding certain supplements, I think the big basics, at least for like athletic performance, you have like creatine, you have caffeine, you have sodium bicarbonate, you have beta alanine, and then things like beetroot juice is an interesting one. I mean, there's a lot of evidence to support it, and but some studies show that it doesn't benefit if you're like a fit athlete, and there was even some recent studies I've been posting that like, it was only 2 studies I think, but like even when women take it, they actually see a performance decrement. I think that will need to be like replicated because there's not really a mechanism for me that like stands out as to why they wouldn't benefit or they would like perform worse with beetroot juice. But